Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of your darling program, The Gist, and of course, it's on BMB Radio podcast. The Gist is a weekly radio podcast that serves you with educating topics spiced up with some entertainment for your listening pleasure. And I'm your host, Blessing Ezeja. I'm happy to be here and, of course, thank God for the gift of life. So I'd like to take a moment to appreciate you for listening to the BMB Radio podcasts, for your support and encouragement. I do really appreciate, and the entire Black Media brand BMB Radio podcast team appreciates you too. So on behalf of BMB Radio podcast, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you and thank you. Right, so today's topic will be very enlightening and impactful as usual. But before I delve into the discussion for today, I'd like us to do something, And do you know what it is? Yes, get your dancing shoes, put them on, and let's head. Welcome back from that short musical break. I hope you really enjoyed that song there because I did. And this is still the gist on BMB Radio. Right, so the United Nations observes today, Friday, the 26th of June 2020, as International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, as well as the International Day in support of victims of torture. So it's two important, or should I say significant, commemorations, yeah? But today our discussion will be centered on torture in our society. Yes, torture in our society. Now, torture is one cruel, ugly, inhumane, degrading treatment or punishment intentionally meted out on people, causing them severe pain. Torture may happen in secret or in the open, and in our society, even now in the 21st century, some forms of torture are being practiced today. Yes, we see lots of these things happening before our very eyes, even around us, and we hear a lot of it in the news. Victims of torture may undergo visible or invisible wounds, physically or psychologically, among many other bundles of suffering. It has even cut short the lives of some in the process. So today, we speak out against the crime of torture and give honor and support to victims and survivors of torture in the whole world, their loved ones and family members. Irrespective of what they've undergone, we pay respect to those who have endured the unimaginable, and our earnest desire is that they heal up quickly from the pains of torture that they've been through. Yes, torture is very, very bad. It's so dehumanizing, and it can cause a whole lot of harm, not just on the person who is being tortured, but it can go a long way to cause some destructive occurrences in the society. Let's head back to the music, and once we return, I have more gist for you. Just stay put on BMB Radio. We'll be right back. Back, and this is still the gist on BMB Radio, and we've been talking about torture in our society. We see torture happening even in the family sector, where intentional deprivation of rights occur. Sometimes we hear of wife or husband battery, where the husband beats up his wife, beats her into a pulp, uses her as a punching bag, or the wife, on the other hand, is the one who beats up her husband. These things are wrong. We have several forms of abuses happening in the family and even in our environment. One that has been making round. It has been there though, but these days it has been making rounds. Is rape. Rape is very bad. This is sexual torture, and on the other hand, we see pedophiles, those who rape children and all that. These things are very, very wrong and should never be tolerated in our society. Terrorism is there, is part of it. Homicide, all these things are happening. They're part of the torture that come from our environment, and these things are perpetrated by people. Even in our school, in the educational system, in some schools, torture can manifest in the form of general punishment, which affects innocent students. This particular one, I actually suffered from it, where someone in a class would commit an offense, and maybe because the class has failed to produce the offender, or I don't know, probably the teacher or whoever is annoyed and all that, tends to punish the whole class for the crime of one or two persons. It's really sad. Even the innocent students tend to suffer from it. There are situations whereby they use brutal means to discipline students. Even in some workplaces, these things are happening. You see maltreatment on house help and all that. These things are wrong. These kind of things are bad. They are parts of torture. And one of the saddest one is that, is the one perpetrated by some security officials. They tend to use their position to torture and torment people whom they feel do not accord them the desired respect that they want. Some even go as far as killing them. Okay, in Nigeria, for instance, these things happen from the police, the military, and even the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, commonly known as SARS. Even in some churches, you see some pastors using all sorts of weapons, harmful materials on their members or those seeking for deliverance. They said they are casting out demons. I wonder, and at the end of the day, some of those people who go to them are scarred for life. Some are even handicapped. So please, let's be guided. Let's stop torturing people in any form or shade. Whatever it is you are using, is it verbal torture, physical torture, electrocution, beating, confinement, using weapons, sexual torture, and what have you? There are numerous kinds of these things in our society that may not have been highlighted by me. Let's work together, you and I, to stop torture in our society and support survivors of torture. Together we can make a difference, a positive difference from that matter. And the trauma that torture leaves on the victim, is unimaginable. Sometimes permanent and devastating. I'm sure you don't want to have this, you don't want to experience these things yourself. So in that case, I'd advise that we deter from torturing people. We should deter from causing people pain and suffering. So that's the size of our package on today's episode. Do remember that you can keep in touch with BMB Radio via our social media platform on Facebook and Twitter at Black Media Brands. You can follow us on Instagram at Black Media Brands _official. You can watch us on YouTube at Black Media Brands. And you can listen to us on Anchor, www.bmb.com.ng. So, till I come your way next week, I'm Blessing Ezeja. Be good and do good. Peace out.